UFC CEO Dana White announced Ilia Topuria is moving up to the lightweight division, vacating his featherweight title, with plans to fight Islam Makhachev. Alexander Volkanovski will now face Diego Lopes for the featherweight belt at UFC 314. He also announced at UFC 315 in Montreal, Belal Muhammad will defend his welterweight title against Della Maddalena, plus more fights like Michael Chandler versus Paddy Pimblett, Yair Rodriguez versus former Bellator champion Patrico Pitbull, Leon Edwards versus Sean Brady, and many more. Which fight are you most excited to see? Before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. Michael Chandler reacts to fighting Paddy Pimblett at UFC 314 in Miami.
After the last fight, one of the most disappointing losses of my career, I wanted to get right back on the horse, get right back in the octagon. So here we go. I like the matchup. Love the matchup, actually. I respect Paddy. I think Paddy's a skilled fighter. I think he's still got a bright future, but I think he's going to run into a buzzsaw named Michael Chandler on April 12th. And as always, I will be the most entertaining guy that steps inside the octagon that night. I will have everybody on their feet. I will have everybody on the edge of their seat. And typical Chandler fashion, we're going out there with one goal in mind, and that's to separate our opponent from consciousness. So, can't wait. We head into training camp today, and for the next 8 weeks, we're going to be getting after it. Thank you guys for being with me on this journey. God bless. I'll see you at the top.
He also predicts an early knockout against Paddy Pimblett.
I believe I'm going to put a pressure on him. I believe he will know right away within the first exchange he's not stepping into the octagon with Bobby Green, with Tony Ferguson. It's just a different level. And I still believe where I'm at, it's a bad matchup stylistically for him. That first time he gets hit by one of the toughest punchers in the UFC lightweight division, which he has not faced yet, it's going to be a different feeling. It's going to be a different speed. It's going to be a different ferocity that he hasn't felt before. But I do believe he's got some momentum right now, and the Paddy train stops in Miami, and he's going to have to go back to the drawing board. And he's great dude, but I plan on landing some big punches and finishing him early. He's going to try to stay away from me, and I'm going to slowly and methodically and surgically walk him down until his heart rate gets so high that the lactic acid sets in. He starts second guessing himself. He's going to be on his back foot. His back is going to be close to the cage, and I'm going to land a right hand or a left hook and put his lights out within the first couple rounds.
Belal Muhammad believes he's better everywhere compared to Della Maddalena and looks forward to proving everyone wrong who has been underestimating his striking.
But what do you think is the most dangerous thing about JDM, and what do you need to worry about?
I mean, if I'm being honest with you, like I'm better everywhere. People were gonna say, and they're gonna ready to come out like, oh, he got hands. But I think they just underestimate my hands and my striking, and I just went against the best striker in the UFC, and Leon Edwards, so-called. I train with the best striker in the UFC, Ignacio Balmendez. I train with Yair Rodriguez. Both these guys, if you've seen them spar, you guys seen them, they're a different level. So when I have a guy that's basic and Jack, who's just boxing, right? He has really good hands, he has good power, but he breaks a lot of these guys down because he hasn't fought anybody like me. His biggest weakness is his experience. He's never been in a big fight like that. He hasn't had a pressure fight yet. He hasn't fought a pressure fighter yet. So for me, I think I'm going to go in there and I'm going to walk through him like I thought I was going to do to everybody else, and I've done everybody else.
Islam Makhachev's manager, Rizvan Magomedov, calls for Ilia Topuria to fight Dustin Poirier or Charles Oliveira in a #1 contender fight to prove he's legit lightweight. He tweeted, "Topuria versus Dustin or Charles contender fight to prove he's legit lightweight so we don't have to defeat another small featherweight. We need big fight that makes sense for everyone. We already gave chances to featherweight champ that was reigning for a long time." Islam Makhachev's coach, Javier Mendez, says Islam wouldn't turn down a fight against Ilia Topuria if it was offered to him.
If it was International Fight Week for you, Javier, is that good timing to prepare for someone like an Ilia Topuria?
Yeah, of course. I mean, anybody. I mean, all Islam needs is 2 months to prepare for anybody. He's not going to care who he fights. You know, you make 155, you know, we all have the same attitude. We fight, you know, you pay us, this is who you're offering. He's not going to say no. If that's who they offer, that's who's been worked out, is who's on the table for Islam. That's what Islam's going to do. That's just the way he is. He's a true warrior. He's not somebody that's going to say, no, give me somebody else. No, he's going to fight. That's the way it is. You know, we're a champion. We're #1 for a reason. We're not supposed to reject any person they throw in front of you. You know, he will do what a champion's.
Alexander Volkanovski reacts to being booked against Diego Lopes for the vacated belt.
Yeah, Lopes, obviously a dangerous dude. Bit of a different matchup to Ilia. Obviously both dangerous fighters. But yeah, so I'm really looking forward to this one. Very excited. But I'm feeling great, and I'm only going to get better from here. So that's a scary thing, especially for Lopes. I think Lopes is in for a very, very hard fight. He's a gamer. He's a great dude. I got a lot of respect for him. A very nice fella. I'm sure he's expecting to go out there and win the belt. But I'm sorry, mate, that ain't happening. Good on you for being in this position. Happy you're getting the opportunity to fight for the belt, but I'm still here. You ain't having it.
Israel Adesanya sends heartfelt message to Dustin Poirier as retirement fight looms. He tweeted, "Whenever I said UFC 243 was my first title defense, some get salty. I consider my interim title win a title win. Any fight after that is considered a title defense and a unification. Two things can be true at the same time. Dustin Poirier and I won our belts on the same night. Undisputed or not, he was the champion. Y'all can't take that away from him. Head high, my guy. Let's strive. If you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe. If you don't, you'll miss out on daily MMA news and people will think you're a casual." Corey Sandhagen is set to face Davison Figueiredo in the headliner of a UFC fight night on May 3rd in Des Moines. This will be Sandhagen's opportunity to rebound after a loss to Umar Nurmagomedov, while Figueiredo aims to recover from his defeat against Petr Yan. Sean Strickland's coach has admitted he was too harsh in his initial comments following UFC 312, saying, "I made a mistake." Initially critical of Strickland's performance, the coach has now reconsidered his stance. The new perspective suggests a more understanding approach towards Strickland's efforts in the fight.
Well, I made a mistake by accepting the invitation to go on in the moment that at the timing of where I was at. So I think people need to understand, like, you're coming off of 25 hours of travel, a 19-hour time difference. I'm at the gym on Tuesday, half awake, right? I just should have said, "Hey man, not a good time."
Yeah.
Right? And that's where I fucked up. Should have never done it. The reason why, yes, you win, bro, it's like you're on this parade, right? I also feel like, hey, you lose, you should face the music too.
Definitely.
Right? Like, hey man, we lost. Let's face it. What threw me for a loop was about 30 minutes before going on aerial, Sean is at practice with us, and Sean tells me all these things about how he felt in the weeks leading up to the fight, yada, 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 his headspace. And it was very disappointing to hear where his headspace was and what his thought process was about being a champion or all these things. And that's personal. I should have known better, right?
Yeah.
I took that energy and had to process that while I go on aerial. I fucked up. And I made a miscalculation in that moment in ever accepting to go on the show, right? Number two, my wording was piss poor. What I said was accurate about the fight was uninspiring. We all know Sean. That is not how Sean fights. What I said was accurate. And am I to shoulder some of that blame? 100%. I said that as a staff. It's on us. I've always said that.
Yeah.
But his output, his body language, his demeanor, all those things, it did not feel like Sean. And if anybody thinks that I should have fucking lied to cover, I'm not a good coach.
Yeah.
That's a yes man.
Yeah.
And I won't be that.
100%.
So if anybody's upset that I was a little too harsh on Sean fucking Strickland, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Now, where my wording was wrong was when Ariel said, "Do you want to continue to coach Sean?" On the heels of what he told me prior, my response should have been championship mindset. Not champions. I don't coach all champions, and I get that.
Yeah.
Sean has a championship mindset. He works his ass off. He spars hard. He busts his fucking nose in his fight. I can never do what Sean does.
Right.
But when you tell me that your motives have changed and it's not to be a champion maybe per se, my only real big incentive is like, yo, let's chase greatness. But I fucking worded it wrong.
Stephen Thompson has proposed a fight with Donald Cerrone, offering him a return to the UFC without needing to drop to lightweight. Thompson praised Cowboy as a fellow veteran from the old school era and suggested a welterweight matchup as a possibility for April or May.
Maybe, I'm thinking April, May time. I think it would be cool just because I'm a huge fan of Cerrone. And, you know, he comes from that old school era that I kind of came from, almost 13, 14 years ago. So it's cool that he wants to jump back out there. And I thought it would be awesome if he doesn't want to cut the weight to 155, maybe to make that fight at 170. I thought it would be really cool to maybe, have two veterans like that step back out there and face off against each other. But nothing booked yet, but that's what I'm kind of shooting for, the April, May time.
That's all for today. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for more MMA content. And if you missed yesterday's news, click the video on the screen to get caught up.